Assalamualaikum. Let us praise and thank the presence of Allah Almighty, abundance of grace, joy all of us can still be gathered, even though it is virtual. Thank you, Board of Examiners, time. On this occasion, the Honorable Ms. Nono Trihapsari, SS M.Hum as a Chief Examiner, Dr. Handa Emi Kusumiati M.Hum, Member Examiner, also Supervisor my thesis, and Mr. Yose Rianugraha SPD M.Hum, Member Examiner and Advisors in this session. Thank you very much. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Nanda Anjelia Putri, and I'm from English Literature Program. In this occasion, I would like to thank for the opportunity that has been given to me to present my final assignment with the title and analysis of phrasal verbs used in Avril Lavigne's song in the album Goodbye Lullaby. And at this time, 3 points of discussion present this presentation. The first is the reason for the topic selection includes background of study, problem statements, objective study, and scope of the study. And the second is the research methods, include theoretical review. And the last is the result of this research, include finding and discussing of the data. And this is my title of my thesis. Let me start from background. Language is an important aspect of our daily life because language make it possible to communicate by expressing general ideas. And language can be learned through the linguistic, which studies language. According to Summer Institute of Linguistics, in its article, What is Linguistic? Linguistics has various branches, such as phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, discourse analysis, semantics, pragmatics, historical linguistics, and sociolinguistics. And according to Robert, in his book An Introduction to Syntax, states that syntax deals with how sentences are constructed, and users of human language employ a striking variety of possible arrangement of the elements in the sentence. And he defines morphology as the study of the formation of words and how they may change their form. So it can be said that morphology studies about the structure of words and phrases, and syntax studies about the structure of the sentence. For this current research belongs to morphology research because it deals with phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are commonly used by people in everyday life, especially by most of native speakers. According to British Council in its article, phrasal verbs are very common in English, especially in more informal contexts. The current study investigates phrasal verbs found in the song lyric of Avril Lavigne's album Goodbye Lullaby, and there are many phrasal verbs which are very interesting to analyze. Based on this explanation, the researcher is motivated to conduct research with title and analysis of phrasal verbs used in Avril Lavigne's songs in the album Goodbye Lullaby. And for the problem statements there are what are phrasal verbs found, what are the types, and what are the patterns of phrasal verbs found in the lyrics of Avril Lavigne's songs in the album Goodbye Lullaby. And for the objective of the study, to know the phrasal verbs, to classify and to examine the patterns of phrasal verbs found in the lyrics of Avril Lavigne's songs. And for the scope of the study focuses on the analysis of phrasal verbs. And for the purpose of the study, the current research is limited into phrasal verbs used in all of Avril Lavigne's songs in this album. And there are some aspects of phrasal verbs that can be analyzed, but research is only limited into classifying and examining the patterns of the phrasal verbs. For the research methods, a research uses a descriptive qualitative research, which is describe the subject or the object of a research based on the fact or reality. The researcher uses descriptive qualitative methods by observing and analyzing the data, and the writer tries to find and describe the data in the form of words, phrases, and the sentence. The researcher used song lyric of Avril Lavigne song in Goodbye Lullaby, which have phrasal verb as the data source. And there are the steps. The first is transcribe the song lyrics and identify the phrasal verb, classifies the phrasal verb, and the last draws conclusion based on the data findings. Now a theoretical review. Phrasal verbs. Eastwood in his book Oxford Guide to English Grammar defined as a phrasal verb as a verb combined with an adverb, and according to Greenbaum and Nelson in his book An Introduction to English Grammar, multi-word verbs are a combination of a word and one or more other words. They are called multi-word verbs because in certain respects they behave as single verbs. And they also describe that a multi-word verb consists of three types belonging to phrasal verb, prepositional verbs, and phrasal prepositional verbs. And for the purpose of the present study, phrasal verbs are defined as a multi-word verbs consisting of a main verb followed by its particle, in which the particle can be a preposition or an adverb. And the phrasal verbs behave as a single verb and has its own meaning. For the type of phrasal verbs, according to Eastwood, in his book Oxford Guide to English Grammar mentions that phrasal verb can be divided into two types belonging to transitive phrasal verb and intransitive phrasal verbs. Transitive phrasal verbs, if the phrasal verb followed by an object, and intransitive phrasal verbs doesn't follow by an object. It could be said that the type of the phrasal verb determined by the existence of the object. Okay. Now the construction of phrasal verbs. Woodham in his article Phrasal Verbs, 5 different structure, propose 5 structure of phrasal verbs. The first pattern is verb followed by preposition and object, and the second pattern is verb followed by object and preposition or an adverb, and the third pattern is verb followed by adverb, preposition, and the last is object. And the fourth is the pattern verb followed by an object and then adverb and preposition, and the fifth is the verb followed by preposition or adverb and zero object. And for this purpose of this current research, the patterns are divided into 7 categories. The 2 of them are verb plus adverb and zero object, and the last is verb followed by object, and the last is adverb. Now is the analysis, the type of phrasal verb. 53 phrasal verb that I found in the lyrics in the album Goodbye Lullaby. And for the transitive phrasal verb, it has 27 data, and intransitive phrasal verb is 26 data. So for the frequency of the data, transitive or intransitive phrasal verb, there are no difference. And for transitive phrasal verb, from all the data, there are some repetition data, and there are think about, turn around, talk about, and run out. And for the intransitive phrasal verb, they fall down and break down. So now I want to analyze the transitive phrasal verb. I got from the sample, from the data to transitive phrasal verb, from the songs Wish You Were Here. So the lyric is, you left them running through my head. From the lyrics, the phrasal verb is running through. From the main verb is run, and the particle or the preposition through. And there is an object, my head, the noun phrase my head as the object. So because there is an object follow in the sentence, so this phrasal verb belongs to transitive phrasal verbs. And the sample 2, I got from the data 7 transitive phrasal verbs. From sounds not enough, and the lyric is, I think it's time to give this up. So here, from the lyrics, the phrasal verb is give up, and there is an object this. So the verb is give, the main verb is give, and the adverb particle is up, and there is an object this, and it is a pronoun as an object. So because there is an object, so this phrasal verb belongs to transitive phrasal verbs. Now in transitive phrasal verbs, I got from the data 6 transitive phrasal verbs, from the song knocking on heaven's door, and the lyric is that long, the black cloud is coming down, and the phrasal verb here is coming down. And the main verb come, and the adverb particle is down, because in the sentence no an object here, so it belongs to intransitive phrasal verbs. And the sample 2 I got from the data 25 intransitive phrasal verb, from the sounds girlfriends, and the lyric is, and even when you think, and even when you look away, I know you think of me. And the phrasal verb here is look away, and the main verb is look, and adverb is particle, because there is no object follow this sentence, so this phrasal verb belongs to intransitive phrasal verbs. And now analyzing the pattern of phrasal verbs. From the 7 patterns, from the 53 data, 2 patterns that there is no data. There is the pattern verb followed by object and preposition, and the pattern verb followed by preposition and zero object. And the most frequent data here is verb followed by adverb and zero object, because all of the data of the intransitive phrasal verbs is use these patterns. And the second most frequent is verb plus preposition and object. To representing the patterns of phrasal verbs, I use 3 diagrams. This is used to clarify the patterns by representing the whole parts of the phrasal verb of the data. Now, beginning from the pattern verb, preposition, and object. So I got from the data 2 again, transitive phrasal verbs. And the data 2 transitive phrasal verb comprises the verb run and the preposition through to construct of phrasal verbs, and it is followed by the noun phrase my head, in which it consists of the determiner my and the noun head. And for the pattern verb followed by an object and then adverb, I got from the data 7 transitive phrasal verbs. The data 7 transitive phrasal verb consists of the verb give and the adverb up to construct a phrasal verb, and the pronoun this as its object is placed between them. And for the pattern verb plus adverb and preposition and then object, I got from the data 24 transitive phrasal verbs, and it consists of the verb running and the adverb out to construct a phrasal verb, and the phrasal verb is followed by the preposition of and the noun words functioning as its object. And the pattern verb followed by adverb and zero objects I got from the data intransitive, which is data 25, and this data show that the patterns verb and then adverb and zero object are analyzed by putting the components of a verb and its adverb. It is different from the patterns of transitive phrasal verb, in which the object of the phrasal verb should be included in the analysis. Meanwhile, the intransitive phrasal verb have no object to analyze. And the last is the pattern verb followed by object and then adverb and the last preposition. I got from the data 12 from transitive phrasal verbs, and it shows that it is constructed by the verb take and the adverb of. They are separated by the noun phrase this page functioning as its object. And the noun phrase consists of the determiner this and the noun batch. And the phrasal verb take this batch of is followed by the preposition of, and it is followed by its object, the pronoun me. And for the conclusion, phrasal verb is different with verb. Phrasal verb is combination of a verb with one or two particles. In views of the type of phrasal verb, there are two types. There are classified into transitive phrasal verb and intransitive phrasal verb. And transitive phrasal verb is phrasal verbs which is always followed by an object. And there are 53 phrasal verbs which contain 27 transitive phrasal verbs and 26 intransitive phrasal verbs were found in Avril Lavigne's songs in Goodbye Lullaby album. And the most frequent data are transitive phrasal verbs. And there are 5 patterns used in phrasal verbs. The most frequent data are the pattern verb follow adverb and zero object, referring to 26 data. The honorable examiners and advisor of this session, I think I presented all of the content with all of the content of my final assignment from chapter 1 until chapter 5, and that is all my presentation. And I'll be ready to answer some questions. Hopefully I can answer all the questions. Again, thank you very much.